Welcome to the Vernon Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Vernon, joined by my guy, G-Sportz. G, how you doing, man? How you feeling?
I'm doing really good, man. Try Paris stand up, man. We had a really good weekend. So I'm excited to talk about the guys from our area and amongst other things that we got to talk about on the list.
Indubitably. Today we got a transfer portal update for you. Got one departure for LSU, potentially in addition. Some more news that we're going to stir around. We're going to talk NFLSU. Like you said, it's been a good weekend for the boot, for LSU's path to the boot, and then some more draft prospects that are going to get their name called here in a few months. We'll talk about the best destinations for them, an outlook for 2025 on that wide receiver side of things. And then we're going to spice up the Saints head coaching search. G, there's a couple of names that you've popped in the bucket. There's a couple of names that are floating around on Twitter. I think it's an interesting search here. And I don't know if the Saints have their guy for sure, but the Saints fans are hoping they do because with the way this season's ending, it's been a heartbreak. It's been just a bunch of beating for the Who Dat Nation.
Definitely, man. I tweeted about it yesterday. A lot of reports been saying that Aaron Glenn is supposed to be the front runner to be the new Saints head coach once his season is done with the Lions. People that follow the Saints, you know that he used to be the DB coach for a number of years when Sean Payton was there. And when Dan Campbell got the job, he took him to Detroit with him. Aaron Glenn is one of those guys that a lot of players rave about. Me and Amit Robinson, the DP from Louisiana Tech that played for the Raiders, that signed with the Lions in the offseason, said that Aaron Glenn has done a great job of pouring into him and getting him to play at his highest level. And he's a player's coach, and he's learned a lot from him in a short amount of time. So, and he's somebody that commands a locker room. And when I hear things like that from Amit Robinson, who's somebody that's a student of the game, that's somebody that holds himself accountable, that holds himself to a high standard, I believe that Aaron Glenn can come to the Saints organization and put us where we need to be. The key is, I was one of those people that was saying that I thought that we need to get an offensive-minded head coach because that's the trend right now in the NFL. If you look at the last 5 to 7 Super Bowl winners, has been offensive-minded head coaches. And so I was of the mind that that's what we needed to do. Like somebody like Coach Johnson, who's the OC for the Lions. I thought that was somebody that the Saints needed to go after, but from what I've been hearing, he's not interested in the Saints. He's more interested in the Bears because he wants to go somewhere where they have a quarterback that he can develop and somebody that he feels like can get his team to the next level. And so I think that if Aaron Glenn's gonna be the head coach, he has to bring in an OC that has a resume, that has the pedigree, that has been proven in the NFL. So I think, with Doug Peterson getting let go by the Jaguars yesterday, he would be a great choice to be the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. Won a Super Bowl, did a great job with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz. I think he played a big part into Trevor Lawrence's maturation process, even though the record doesn't say otherwise. I think Doug Peterson would be a great choice for the Saints as an offensive coordinator, man. And so that's my picks, man, to see the Saints going into next season. And I think if we draft well, you can see the Saints being in the playoffs as soon as next year.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at their division, it's not like a staggering division with a lot of competition that's going to make your head spin. I mean, you've even watched the tables turn as quick as the Saints going from top 2 teams to the worst team in the division. So it's not like they have a huge hill to climb, at least in the NFC South. I got another couple of questions I want to pick your brain about. Doug Peterson, Aaron Glenn. I feel like those are 2 of the more probable spots, right? But let's mix it up. Let's make it a little more interesting. What about a Mike Vrabel? What about even a potential college coach that season isn't even done yet? What are the rumors around things like this? I feel like the college game is changing to a point where, me and you call it professional all the time, and we watched Jim Harbaugh enter those ranks. We watched other head coaches exit the college football ranks. Are there going to be any more departures this offseason or any more coaches making that swap from the NCAA to the NFL?
I don't see, and I sure in the hell don't want to see the Saints hire a college coach. There's no disrespect to anybody that's coaching college football, but I want to see somebody that has some sort of a track record of coaching in the NFL. Especially having some type of coordinating experience behind you in the league. And so I don't want to see that. You know, I think when you start talking about somebody like Jim Harbaugh, he's cut from a different type of cloth. You know what I mean? You got to think about it. He coached with the 49ers some years ago, went to college, and now he's back in the NFL. So his situation is a little bit different. And I think that when you talk about somebody like that, he just his experience and him playing in the league is just a little different than anybody else coming out of college. So I think that's why Jim Harbaugh is having so much success in the NFL.
And the last thing that I kind of want to talk about with the Saints head coach and search before we move on to this transfer portal news. What about Rizzi? Is he out of there? Is he going to keep his job with, the way that he was able to stick his neck out and kind of get the ball rolling a little bit? Or is this whole entire staff canned and you're going to see a brand new NOLA football squad?
Aaron Glenn has a relationship with a lot of people on that Saints staff. So I would anticipate if he gets the job, he's probably going to keep a few people still on. But we'll see. We'll see. And I know Mickey Loomis and Aaron Glenn have had some talks about this. I've been seeing reports that, they will keep a few people on staff, but we'll see. And I forgot to touch on the Mike Vrabel situation. I don't think Mike Vrabel will be a fit in New Orleans. And then, with Gerard Mill getting canned yesterday by the New England Patriots and Mike Vrabel being a former Patriot, I've been hearing that he's the front runner for that job. So I don't think the Saints will even interview Mike Vrabel. So, I think it's Aaron Glenn's job to lose. And, like I say, I think the key to this whole thing for him is hiring the right type of offensive coordinator. And like I say, man, I'm on the Doug Peterson train.
Yeah, I just to kind of build off of the Aaron Glenn situation, there's two things that I want to attribute to why I'm more than likely going to expect him to get that job. Like you were saying, the turnover. It'll be not as big of a project if he's going to retain some coaches, if he's already got a prior relationship with some of these people. It seems to be one of the smoother transitions. The last thing that I want to, point attention to is what happened last night on Sunday Night Football, baby. The Vikings, the Lions went out, and I'm not going to say that they murked the Vikings, and I'm not going to say that it was a hell of a defensive performance, but it made me impressed because as an NFC North fan myself, repping the green and gold, those two teams are battling out, and I expected blood to be everywhere. I expected it to be an iron sharpens iron, really close, down to the wire, clutch type of game. And I don't think it was that. So I feel like that's another feather in his cap going into this offseason that maybe he is one of the more top candidates. I mean, obviously, both coordinators for the Lions are going to have damn near any job of their choosing. They're all at the top of the NFL. They're turned over a team not a lot of people had faith in a few years ago. And I'm excited to see them finish off this run, G. Hopefully they can win a Super Bowl. Hopefully the Lions can go hold a Lombardi up. Hopefully this doesn't distract too much. But like you said, I think Aaron Glenn, he might have found his new spot.
And I think one of the most impressive things about what Aaron Glenn has done with that defense, man, they've been decimated by injuries. And Amik Robinson talked about it in a press conference that they got a next man up mentality in that building. And whoever, if somebody goes down, they believe in the next guy that's coming in. And I think that's what's been impressive about what you see with Aaron Glenn doing, being able to get anybody to fit in that scheme and get them to play at a high level. That's not easy to do, man. That's not easy to do because as we all know, in professional sports, the twos and the threes, they don't get a whole lot of reps during the week. So for you to be able to implement somebody in that short amount of time and get them to play at a high level on Sundays against some of the best athletes in the world, man, that's nothing short of impressive. And so I think when you see something like that from a coordinator like Aaron Glenn, you got to be, excited to see him be, the head coach of your organization if that's what the Saints decide to do.
I agree. Yeah, that type of preparation, that type of depth, being able to translate on the field, big indicator of a good.
And don't even have and look, they don't even have their best defensive player, Aiden Hutchinson.
Exactly. He got injured through the first 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Yeah, but they saying he's supposed to come back for the playoffs though.
Fingers crossed. I ain't gonna lie.
I know, man. Michigan, man.
But them Lions. Hey, them Lions winning. I ain't gonna tell you why, but I think it could be exciting. That's all I'm gonna say. Let's move into this transfer portal news. G, I got something that I want to pick your brain about. Matter of fact, I got two things I want to pick your brain about. The first thing, I feel like everybody kind of has already heard the news yesterday. LSU D lineman Jalen Lee is entering the portal once again. I believe he portaled into Baton Rouge from Florida. Now he's going to be entering the spot again. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know where the leans are. But I want to just ask, is this a loss where LSU's D-line or Bo Davis or just this whole defense in general they're going to be missing a piece like this? Or are they lock and loading enough to where it's not going to be that noticeable? And then my second question, I'm going to parlay into this, is LSU hosting North Carolina State corner to Marcus Cooley. We've talked about the cornerback room. We've talked about all these pieces that are getting added, and it just feels like sometimes you have it all figured out and you have, the list finalized, and then boom, one more name gets sprinkled on top of the mix. Should we expect another addition in this cornerback room? Should we? I mean, look, we even thought the O-line was done, and now Coach Kelly is like, well, we might have one more prospect. Is it going to be a similar path here for this cornerback room? And then once again, Jalen Lee and his presence, how big of a loss would that be potentially?
No disrespect to Jalen Lee, but I don't think they're going to lose any sleep that he's getting in the transfer portal. Good luck to Jalen wherever he ends up. I hope he has a great rest of his career. But I think Bo Davis and them, they saw the writing on the wall that they have to get better players in that defensive tackle at the defensive tackle position. All right. As you seen last year, man, Jalen Lee was nothing more than a rotational guy. I think they rather go with the youth with Ahmad Brew and Dominic McKinley, and some of these guys that's already there. So that's just what that is. I think Jalen Lee understands that if he wants to have an opportunity to be a starter or play a whole lot, it was best for him to move on. Seeing them going to the portal and host another cornerback was a little surprising. I think after the bowl game, it kind of made the staff look at it in a different perspective and say, man, I think we probably need to go get one more corner. I think right now, as you look at that cornerback room, you got Ashton Stamps coming back, and he's a 2-year starter. And you got DJ Pickett coming in. But I think what Corey Raymond is trying to do, he doesn't want to put all that pressure on DJ Pickett as a true freshman. I still anticipate DJ Pickett being able to get some playing time and rotate in and get some experience next year. But I think what you see that they're trying to do, they're trying to get some experienced guys in that cornerback room, some guys with some length, and that's what they're doing with the kid Delane from Virginia Tech, Jakeem Jackson from Florida, and now this kid from NC State if they end up getting this commitment. So I get it. You can never have too many DBs, especially talented DBs, especially when you're playing in a conference like the SEC. And so I think it's a good idea that they're hosting another DB, and hopefully they get his commitment.
Yeah, I kind of was, thinking back to what the conversation we were having about Aaron Glenn, the defensive injury spot with the Detroit Lions. I mean, half of their battle and half of them being able to crawl out of that hole, that slump, if you will, was the depth. So, I mean, look, it is a positive, right? The more the merrier, the mouths to feed, all this stuff. I feel like if anybody's going to be able to figure it out, it'll be Corey Raymond. But I'm going to have to agree with you with that point being that we probably looked at some of that bowl game film and realized this still is the area of the defense that needs the most attention, whether it be corner, whether it be safety, just DB across the board. I think this defense gets a lot better if you continue to add pieces into that spot. So hopefully TaMarcus comes in, makes his commitment. We'll be keeping an eye on it and all the other transfer portal news.
And don't be surprised if the kid from NC State ends up playing safety too. Don't be surprised.
Because I feel like, we kind of talked about it with Toviano. I know it's different positions, and I know that, there's going to be a growing pain period. You're going to have to learn a couple of new things. But at the end of the day, if you're a talented corner, I feel like you could potentially make the switch, or at least at the very minimal, play a hybrid role, and that's how you're going to see yourself get on the field a lot earlier. Your top corners, naturally, they're going to play in those spots. Your Mansours, your Ashton Stamps, even DJ Pickett. But all those other stragglers in that room, or all the other people that are going to be fighting for more reps, that could be the way that they see the field, G.
Right. Agreed.
Real quick, though, before we move on, I want to remind everybody, hit the thumbs up, follow us on social media, my guy G at G_sports on X, and comment below to get featured on the stream. You got any questions, concerns, anything at all, drop them in the comment section. We'll pop you up and answer your questions. Let's move on to Zachariah Branch real quick. He committed to Georgia along with his little brother, so the Branch Bros going down to Athens. G, I wanted to pick your brain. How big of a weapon is this? I mean, I watched him a little bit during LSU and USC. See, at B25, they dropped a pretty nice car for him early on in the year. So I feel like he's a nice little head turner. I feel like he's a guy that could bring some oomph to the Bulldogs. But, how big is this? Is this going to be a piece that attracts other attention to the school, or just talk about, your reaction seeing this news?
Zachariah Branch is definitely a dynamic weapon, especially in the return game. Uh, I don't think he's a pure receiver that can go to a program like Georgia and catch for 700 plus yards and 8 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a gadget guy. He's going to be somebody that they do speed sweeps and bubble screens and just try to get him the ball at space. But I think what he's going to make the most impact for the Georgia Bulldogs is in a return game. I think he's going to bring a different element to the special teams game because he is when you catch it, when you get him on a return. You saw he almost bust one against LSU in the opener, and he has some speed. He can make you miss. And so I think he's just going to bring that kind of dynamic to their team. But I don't anticipate him, being one of the top receivers in the SEC next year.
Okay. Let's move on real quick to our NFLSU additions, right? We got about 4 big prospect names that LSU is going to see drafted, potentially first round, but more than likely your top 2 rounds. Let's talk about where we think they're going to go, where their best spots, their best fits, if you will, would be. You want to go prospect by prospect, or you want me to give mine, you give yours? How you want to do it, G?
I'm with whatever.
All right, let's go prospect by prospect. Let's start it off with the obvious. I believe this will be our first LSU Tiger drafted into this class. It'll be Will Campbell, and I got 3 spots for him. They might sound confusing at first, but I'm gonna explain it as we go. With his spot, I believe the more probable locations would be someone like the Chicago Bears, Jacksonville Jaguars, or maybe even, close your eyes or your ears, Saints fans, the New Orleans Saints. Now, here's why. I know. Here's why. These 3 teams, the first 2 I mentioned, they already got their franchise quarterback. More than likely, they already got him paid. They're going to have to protect them. In Jacksonville's instance, Trevor Lawrence, I think, could benefit from something like this. You got the skill positions hit. You got a lot of pieces you can look forward to. In Chicago's aspect, I think it makes a little less sense just because, yeah, you want to protect your rookie and Caleb Williams, but another weapon could make it that much more explosive. So I could see them going both ways. Now, for the Saints, it's more so the damn Saints love drafting linemen, whether it be defensive, whether it be offensive. It's always ironic to be able to see that. I feel like it's a damn good shot for the Saints to grab someone out the trenches, especially at this point with how bad those offensive line woes got. But I know, G, they're in a spot where they need everything. I mean, anything the Saints can get at that point with their draft pick, I feel like will be a plus. Unfortunately, they're picking right around the top 10, 12 range. They should have been picking a little bit higher, but it's neither here nor there. If I had to guess, I'll say send him to Jacksonville with Big Tuca, 2 of the LSU men in the trenches, and Jefferson as well. That'd be nice. And I feel like him protecting Trevor Lawrence, it just makes sense. I don't know, though. It's going to be interesting. I got a couple of other leans, but I'm going to save those for Emory Jones. What you think about Will Campbell?
Will could play on any NFL team. Let's make no mistake about it, because the mentality he plays with, the grit, how he's a student of the game. This guy can go in any organization and be an X factor. But the teams that I'm looking at right now for him, and I think it'll be a good fit, will be the New England Patriots. I think he can go there and solidify that left tackle spot. Their left tackle spot this year was atrocious. The whole offensive line was bad, but you really want to start with that blind side for your quarterback and get that taken care of. And I think will be a great fit with the New England Patriots, especially if they end up hiring Mike Vrabel, who was a tough-minded, gritty type coach. I think him and Will Campbell will probably be locker room buddies. So I think it'll be a good culture fit if he went to the Patriots, if they hire Mike Vrabel. The Rams, they need a left tackle. I think he would do really, really good in that scheme, especially under Sean McVay. And you got somebody like Matthew Stafford, and their left tackle spot was kind of suspect this year. The Kansas City Chiefs, they need a left tackle, and I also think that don't be surprised if Will ends up playing right tackle in the league. I've been seeing some scouts. I've been talking to some scouts that said some teams envision him playing right tackle. So I think those 3 teams will be the best fit for Will Campbell: New England Patriots, the Rams, or the Chiefs.
Can you talk real quick about that right tackle switch? A lot of people, they might be confused when they hear you say that. My first thought process would be, left tackle is your blind side spot. Is the right tackle a little bit, less, I'm not gonna say valuable, but like less demanding for a rookie? Will it allow him to kind of ease into the league slower and then inevitably he transition to a spot like that, or will that be his permanent spot?
Well, I just think that Will, and this is no disrespect to Will, I just think that when you talk about the athleticism, you want a guy that's really, really athletic at that left tackle spot, um, because you going against some of the best pass rushers, some of the guys with the best get off in the world. You know, when you talk about somebody like Miles Garrett, Michael Parsons, you know, people like that, Von Miller, like you gotta be really athletic to be able to block those guys and be able to handle speed and not just power at the right tackle spot. Not saying you're not gonna still go against good edge rushers, but the right tackle spot is more of a guy that's not as athletic as a left tackle. And so I think, you know, that's why you see some teams saying that, you know, don't be surprised if he gets drafted and he gets moved to right tackle. So and that's no knock on Will. You know, I still think even if he plays right tackle, he's still gonna go in the top 10, top 15 of the draft and be a really, really good NFL player.
Okay. Let's move on to Mason Taylor. I think he could potentially be the next one drafted off the board. I got two very interesting ones here. The least interesting one is the Colts, right? Anthony Richardson needs as many weapons as possible, and I think Mason's dynamic enough where he can do a little bit of everything and be a nice supplement to the Indianapolis Colts. They're looking for a tight end through that first round. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to grab him. Might want to grab somebody else, but if they do go with someone else, I know who deep down inside I am really rooting for to grab Mason Taylor. Once again, close your ears, Saints fans. The Denver Broncos. I think Sean Payton has been working magic. I think, you know, if he puts him in a similar role to, I'm not going to say Jimmy Graham because I know it's a different build, but hey, he's made magic with that spot. I feel like a utility weapon with a tight end that you can put in the receiving game, that you can mix in the blocking game. You can have all kind of disguise packages with someone like Mason Taylor. Those are my two, you know, exciting spots for him. Now, will he go there? I don't know, but I think those are the two best ones for him and his development, at least, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I got the Saints and the Broncos on my list too for Mason Taylor, but I also added the Chargers and the Giants. I think, you know, you give Justin Herbert somebody like Mason Taylor who can stretch the defense and be that third down target. You know, and that's what Jim Harbaugh loves. You know, you go back to when he was at Michigan and when he was with the 49ers, he always had a tight end that can catch down the field, that can be that third down target, that can block. And Mason Taylor does all those things, and we all know he comes from an NFL background with his dad being uh, one of the best, you know, outside linebacker, outside edge rushers that this league has seen in Jason Taylor. So, you know, I think those spots will be really, really good. And I would love to see the Saints draft him, man. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I've been saying the Saints needed a tight end for some years now, right? And I think he would do wonders, you know, next to, you know, Alavi and Shaheed and Alvin Kamara. You know, I
Right.
think that'll be some really, really good weapons. And whoever the offensive coordinator be, he'll have some toys to play with.
And I don't think the Saints have like a clear cut guy. Half their tight ends is like a Taysom Hill or Juwan Johnson. Two of those
Yeah.
players, see, they're not even really true tight ends. You know what I mean? It's people that have transitioned into that position. So drafting someone like Mason Taylor, that could be a good benefit as well. Let's move on to Emory Jones. I think, like we were talking about with Will Campbell, there's a couple of spots where I can put both of them in. I saved two of them for Emory, the Houston Texans and the Seattle Seahawks. I think it's the similar spot, at least in CJ's instance. He's a lot younger, and they're going to want to protect him. Now with Geno, I'm not going to put Geno under the young tag, right? But I think it's still an obvious area that you can improve. And with Emory Jones' situation, he might go to a second round, right? So if you've got an opportunity to draft him with a pick that like that, I feel like it would be pretty valuable. G, do you think that he could potentially undergo a position change as well in the leagues?
Yeah, I've been saying it since he came into LSU as the right tackle as a true freshman that Emory Jones is going to be a guard in the NFL. And I think sometimes when people hear stuff like that, they think that's a knock. It's not a knock. It's just about fit and measurables and things of that nature. I think he's going to be play guard in the league, and I think he's going to do a really, really good job. I know the Lions are going to be looking for a guard in the draft, so I could see him, you know, potentially going to the Lions. There's a lot of different teams in the league that needs guards, And Emory Jones is the kind of guy that I believe he can play in a zone system. I believe he can play in a spread system. I think any kind West Coast, it don't matter what kind of system you put him in, he can play in it. He's super, super athletic. You could pull him. He could down block. He could trap. He could do whatever you need him to do, and he's tough. And so I think any team in the NFL that is looking for a guard, Emory Jones will do really, really well.
I agree. Last guy we're going to talk about, your guy, Kyron Lacy. I got three really, really, really good names. Three good teams I'd love to see all of. Matter of fact, they all start with the same letter G. We got a little bit of alliteration going on here. I got the Cowboys, I got the Chargers, and I got the Commanders. And the last one is just more based off chemistry and Jaden Daniels and being able to pair a former duo together. And I feel like that would be exciting. I feel like if Kyron Lacy and the Commanders can sync up and get together, it would be a huge boost. Everybody would be excited. The Chargers, they obviously need wide receivers after their clear out. They lost guys like Keenan, like Mike Williams. You talked about Harbaugh and his ability to be able to just attack teams offensively. And I think Kyron would be a good fit. And I mean, hell, being in Los Angeles alongside someone like Justin Herbert, who's going to complain? And lastly, Dallas Cowboys. I feel like that's a pretty good fit. However, CeeDee Lamb is there. Do you think something like that could slow it down? Like they already have a big wide receiver, or would that honestly help it speed up? Honestly, like, oh, maybe he can take him under his wing and get him into that next spot.
Yeah, I don't think that really matters. The way the league is going now, it's so receiver heavy. You want two dynamic receivers on your team at all times. I mean, it's a pass happy league. I got a good bit of teams in mind, and I think that if he go to any one of these teams, he would be a great, great fit. The Commanders, like you talked about, linking him up with Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin at the other side, who's one of the best route runners in the league. You got an offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury. Hopefully he comes back because I've been hearing his name come up in NFL head coaching positions. You got a tight end in Zach Ertz. You got two good running backs in Eckler and Robinson. So you got all the pieces. I just think they need that receiver on the other side of McLaurin to make that offense complete. Then you got somebody like the Cincinnati Bengals, right? We know that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both up for a contract deal. Both of them are going to be in the market of getting paid $25 to $30 million a year. I think Jamar Chase is going to be probably around $35 to $40 million because he's going to surpass what Justin Jefferson got. So I just don't see the Bengals paying two receivers that kind of money and a quarterback. You're just not going to spend all that money on one side of the ball, especially when you know how bad your defense was. So I could see them not paying T. Higgins and paying Jamar Chase and then draft the Kyron Lacy to be an opposite of Jamar Chase. So I think that'll be a good fit. You got somebody like Joe Burrow throwing you the rock. Come on, man. That'll be a great situation. Then you think about somebody like the Denver Broncos, Sean Payton, who is a great offensive mind. You got a quarterback in Bo Nix who showed that he could play in his league. Their only receiver this year was Cortland Sutton, right, who caught right at 1,000 yards. The next receiver that was close to him, I think, was Mims with like 400-some yards receiving. Come on, man. I think Kyron would do a great job in that offense on side Cortland Sutton, and especially with somebody like Sean Payton calling the plays. Then you got somebody like the Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay, with somebody like Matthew Stafford throwing you the ball. Puka Nicole on one side, Kyron Lacy on the other side. Because from what I'm hearing, they're not going to be bringing Cooper Kupp back. He's been decimated by injuries the last few years, and they don't want to pay him that kind of money. So I'm hearing he's going to get traded or let go in the offseason. So you bring somebody like Kyron in to go on the side of Puka Nicole with Kyron Williams as the running back. I love that. I love that offense and what Sean McVay has done with that team, especially all the pieces they lost over the last couple of years after winning the Super Bowl. I think Kyron will flourish in that offense with Sean McVay. And about the last team is the Cowboys. I know you talk about CeeDee Lamb being the number one, but how good would that look with Dak Prescott throwing that ball to Kyron Lacy and CeeDee Lamb on Sundays out there in Jerry World, right?
Sweet.
It will be a sight to see. So, that's my teams that I think would be the best fit for number two from LSU.
I agree. I'm excited. I feel like draft day can't come close enough. I know we were talking about the Senior Bowl. You only got a couple of things left, G, and then boom, pro days here. And I know you're gonna be excited and in Baton Rouge in that indoor football ops waiting
Yep.
moment.
Yep.
Let's move on real quick. Let's wrap this thing up. I got two nice segments that I want to talk about. First things first, we got to give LSU some props before we move on to the final segment. I want to talk about wide receiver U. I want to talk about the outlook for 2025 because it's always a debate, G, and I feel like there should be no more debating. Everybody always wants to talk. You hear the chatter, you hear all this noise. Let's look at the top leaders in the NFL, G. The top three all went to LSU. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Brian Thomas Jr. shot out. 5 of the 8, if you add in Malik and CD, all from Louisiana. LSU's 2025 wide receiver room looking stacked. You got Nick Anderson, Barian Brown, 2 of your transfers, 2 of your taller guys in that room, and then mix them in with Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, Kyle Parker, Kylan Billiot, and Jelani Watkins. I feel like it's pretty hard not to give LSU the props as one of the best schools. And then lastly, I'm going to play this clip for the viewers here. When you got Chad Ochocinco giving you a bouquet of flowers, it's time to sing your praises.
You got Odell and Jarvis were together. You got Jetta and Chase were together. And you got Davis and Thomas were together. What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We might have to call LSU Wide Receiver University.
Yeah.
G, you might got to call him. You might got to give him the crown. You might got to put it on him. G, how you feeling? Is LSU wide receiver you, and is this debate over with?
Man, this go back to when I said I don't know what DeCorian Moore was thinking about when he decommitted from LSU to go to Oregon. I get it. Phil Knight, Nike, just do it. They gave you an offer you couldn't refuse. But what I always talk about, think about the long term, not the short term. Do you want to put yourself in a situation to be one of the best college players that's getting the most NIL money, or you want to be one of the best NFL players when you get to the league? And that's what LSU has proven to do. And that's why I said DeCorian Moore made a bad decision going to Oregon. Do I think he's still going to be a good player? Yes, I do. I just don't think he's going to have that same time like if he would have came to the boot, baby. You know? But I'm rooting for DeCorian Moore. I like that kid. I like his makeup. But when you got somebody like Chad Ochocinco and Shannon Sharp give you them kind of praise, it's time to take notice to it, man. They need to start coming out with some merch that say wide receiver U.
Yep. With
the LSU brand on it, because that's what it's turning into. And I think when Kyron Lacey gets to the league, he's going to add on to that list. And the guys that's in that room right now, the Destin Hills of the world, the Chris Hiltons, the Barian Browns, the Nick Anderson, you're going to have about 2 or 3 that's going to come out of that room. Colin Billiot. You're going to have 2 or 3 that's going to come out of that room that we're going to be saying in a few years, like, damn, here go another one from LSU. It's just something about it. It's something in the gumbo. It's something in the water. It's something in the A2F. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it's something about it. It's like when you come into these stomping grounds of the bayou, something getting into your blood, something getting into your veins, something getting into your mind. I don't know. I can't explain it, but I just know when you put that purple and gold on and you're playing wide receiver, you're gonna be like that.
It's just
more
something
often than not. If you one of the top guys in the room, when you get to the league, it usually translates.
Nick Saban says, shake a damn tree in South Louisiana, and you can have 4 or 5 5-stars fall out of there. 4 or 5 athletes that can go into the NFL and create some fireworks. G, we got a couple from the Tri-Parish that we got to shout out real quick. Talking about ballers, talking about dogs, talking about having a hell of a weekend. First things first, our guy Tay Martin scored his first career touchdown. Let's take
watching the back end. The Texans.
How are you feeling when you saw something like this? I mean, I feel like this was a long time coming. It's always a feel-good story to see a dot go for someone's first touchdown. Well, what a good moment, and just talk about, Tay Martin and the success that he's seeing.
Man, that's terrible ball skills by the safety for the Texans. Oh my God, that's horrible.
High point it, baby. High point.
Yeah,
Coach Butler, where you at?
Yeah, like he was back there waiting on a point. But shout out to Tay Martin, man. I followed his journey so closely all through high school and the college. Kid been through a lot. Was with the 49ers organization for the last couple of years on a practice squad, and it was on an active roster, probably 3 or 4 games last year. And to see him catch his first NFL touchdown, man, I hope that gives him the confidence, and I hope that gives that organization some confidence about him going into next year, man. He gets an opportunity, man, to be in the rotation at that wide receiver position because he's so talented, bro. And I think, Tay is one of those kids that we could look and see next year playing, and he's making plays, and people are like, man, where this kid came from? Well, he's been on the practice squad, he's been on the shelf the last few years. But I think he's super, super talented. 6'1", 6'2", jump out the gym, and he has a mentality just like the rest of these boo boys that's balling in the NFL from LSU. You know, he ended up going to Washington State and then transferring to Oklahoma State in college, where he caught for over 1,000 yards and over 10 touchdowns and was the Fiesta Bowl MVP versus Notre Dame. So this guy has a proven track record that he could ball. I think it's just about opportunity with Tate, man. I hope he gets it next year, especially ending the season off on the right note with his first career touchdown.
I agree. I was excited to see him get that nice little nod, like you're talking about, with confidence. All you got to do is just see one go through sometimes, G, and then boom. Now you got confidence brewing through success. That's one of the best indicators of somebody in that flip getting switched. Lastly, one more switch getting flipped. Amik Robertson. I mean, he's been balling for a while, G, but now he's on a team where he could potentially put a damn ring on a finger. Let's look at this clip. I feel like this was a nice, awesome moment. I saw you reposted on X, but I want to let the viewers go ahead and see it here.
Bottom of my heart, man, I appreciate y'all, man, because y'all gave me a chance to showcase what I could do when they tried to bury me, dog. But they can't bury what come from the dirt. Hey, let's get that big one, man. Let's keep on working, man. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Can't bury what come from the dirt, G. You can't hold it down, G.
Man, that shit give me chills in my spine, bro. Like, for real, dog. Like, that shit made me more get emotional watching that, dog, because I watched that dude work, bro. I watched that dude work. I'm talking about coming out of West Thibodeau Middle School, training on side his people house, backpedaling, getting in and out of his breaks, you know, going to a camp. I remember the first camp I saw him at, man, at Joe Brown Park for the Nike camp. And he went against Stanley Morgan, man, who was one of the top receivers in the state that year. And they ended up signing with Nebraska, and he went out there and put on a show. And that's when I think people started understanding like how good he was. But everybody always was talking about his size, and he was too small. And I was always somebody that was always advocating for Amik Robertson, man. It was just something about his mindset, his mentality. And he was always a kid that his actions matched his words. You know, a lot of kids say, I won't be great. A lot of kids say, you know, I won't make it and I won't do this. But they try to skip steps in the process. And he is somebody I can vouch for that never, ever skip steps in this process. And he's getting all the rewards of it, the fruits of his labor, man. I'm glad to see him have that moment. I know when he was with the Raiders, he was in and out the lineup, and he felt like the staff just wouldn't being consistent and letting him get the opportunities he wanted. You know, but now he's somewhat with a guy like Aaron Glenn, all right, who we just were talking about, who was a former DB, a small DB that played in the league that's pouring into him and allowing him to be himself and play at the level that we've all known him to play at since he's been in middle school, from high school to the 3-time All-American at La Tech, man. And I'm so glad to see that the world was able to finally understand what we've been looking at since he's been in 8th grade. And I'm proud of that dude, man. I'm proud of him and his story. People don't even understand what that kid has been through as far as adversity-wise, injuries, people overlooking him. Like, it's been a lot. It's been a lot, man. And I think the sky's the limit for him. And I think he's going to be at the negotiation tables this summer because he's outperformed that contract. I think he signed a 2-year deal for like $10 million in the offseason. Well, they need to go back to the drawing board, man, and pay my dude. Go get him what he's worth. All right, go get him what he's worth. Go back the Brinks truck up.
Yeah,
go back it up and give my dog his bread.
I agree, G. It's one of those feel-good stories, like you said. I mean, the Tri-Parish got a bunch of good role models to look forward to, and I think it's gonna keep getting better. I think it's gonna keep on elevating, huh, G?
All day.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate all the viewers that stopped by. Make sure to hit the subscribe button on both of our channels. We're live on G-Sportz, we're live on Verdant Verdict, and we're live on Facebook at Verdant Verdict. Give my guy G a follow on Twitter as well, G_sports. Appreciate y'all time. Hit that thumbs up, and thanks for your time as well, G. Yeah, have a good one. We'll see you Wednesday. Hey, I didn't forget about that steak, bro. I didn't forget about that steak. We don't have to figure this out. If anybody, they don't know what the hell we talking about, I got damn near 100 balled on CFB. We ain't gonna talk about it. All I'm gonna say. And I got G his steak. It's good. Appreciate y'all.